that's proposed.
Okay, let's call the board meeting of November 21st to order. Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich.
Here.
Beckman.
Here.
Fox. Here. Verplank.
Here.
And Pullman.
Here.
Phelps is absent with notice, and Miller is no longer here.
Moving on, would you please all silence your cell phones, and please don't text during the meeting as it's against the Open Meetings Act. So we have approval of the agenda as it stands, please.
I'll make a
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda of November 21st.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Fullerton and a support by Beckman. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion stands. Could we have approval of the minutes of the October 17th meeting, please?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll support.
Okay, I have a motion by Fox and support by Beckman to approve the minutes of the October 17th meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have public comment on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the public that cares to comment? Please come to the podium. Okay, no public comment. Moving on. We have special guests tonight, Dave and Joe Becken. We did the check presentation downstairs. Greg?
I'd like to stand up and read this if I can, okay? Dave and Joe, Saugatuck Township Fire District personnel and the Fire Administrative Board would like to extend our most sincere gratitude to the family of Gerald, Jerry, and Jeanette Becken for the extraordinary generous gift donated to the department in his memory. Jerry served as a firefighter with Saugatuck Township Fire District for 27 years and continued serving as a member of the fire board for an additional 42 years. He was an integral part of the team for the fire district and a dedicated public servant to the communities of the city and the village of Douglas, Saugatuck City, and Saugatuck Township. As designated by Mr. Becken, coordinated by the Community Foundation of Holland-Zeeland area, along with Jerry's nephews, Dave and Joe. The state trustees, a grant fund will be distributed over a period of 5 years to Saugatuck Fire. On August 18th, the fire district received the first installment of this generous gift in the amount of $7,410. On behalf of the Saugatuck Township Fire District Administrative Board and the personnel, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. You want to say anything?
No.
Okay.
Just do them proud. Thank you, Carol.
We will.
Be safe,
guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We truly appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, request for payment. Can I have a motion for paying the accounts payable?
Scott's not here, I'll make a motion to pay the payment.
Can't get done.
$149,958.37.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Batman and support by Aldrich to pay the payables in the amount of $149,958.37. Is there any discussion? Ms. Peters not here. All right, Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, please. Beckman?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Ruffing?
Yes.
And Foley?
Yes.
That's 5-0, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we won't have a financial report tonight. We'll do that at the next meeting. Peter was not available today. So moving on to fire chief comments.
Good evening, Fire Board members. Thanks for being here. We'll go over some highlights of the October statistics. We recorded 91 calls versus 81, so we're up about 2.3%. Response times increased a bit, a lot of reasons for that, weather. A lot of calls could have been southeast of the station, a number of reasons. Significant would be overlapping calls. As you know, an overlapping call is any call that occurs within 1 hour of another call. So October was almost 43% overlapping calls. Year to date is 33% on calls, which is significant. I always share that with the board, something to watch. Type of calls on falls, not uncommon. That is the most frequent call we have. We're actually tracking that, trying to figure out what we can do to reduce that amount. 18 more falls than in 2021.
Chief,
Yep.
do we know if, if those are clustered, like at Grace or Douglas, or?
No, it's pretty much all over the place. For example, one of the examples of community risk reduction, and this will help answer your question, we actually will find an area, a sidewalk, where 4 falls occurred in 18 months. So we notified the respective jurisdictions, saying, you might want to look at that, because all the sidewalks become uneven.
Oh, yes.
And they respond accordingly. They've all done a pretty good job with it, those that have sidewalks. So you get at homes, parks, but a lot of sidewalk issues.
I had one of these myself in my side yard, walking the dog. Dog went one way, I went to go after something, got twisted up, spun around with the dog, and either lost my balance or whatever. Fell down like an idiot, put my hands down on on our hedge that's in front of the house. Well, hedges don't hold you up. I just went straight down through all those bushes. And I was discombobulated enough, and it was raining, and it was cold, that I was having a hard I couldn't get up. I needed something to grab on, and the nearest thing was a big tree that was farther away than Jane, and even that's this wide, it doesn't work. You need something like this. I'd fallen in the forest hunting or whatever. I ended up calling Mary on the telephone. You guys were my next call, but I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to face them and get highlighted on the incidents month, including a fire board member. But after that, because it's when it happens, unexpected is truly the word, and you kind of go, wait a minute, I'm not that old, should this be happening? And so I did my, do internet research and whatever. One of the things that I've adapted off of that was something, I don't buy any individual idiots on the internet, here's what to do. But there were several, like 7 or 8 sites, maybe the EMT guys know some of this stuff, that recommended the one exercise for seniors to do for balance. And they all recommended exactly the same exercise. Really? And it's not complex. In fact, I'm thinking, oh God, just what I need is a workout every morning. It's literally squats with your arms up like this, looking at a mirror or whatever, maybe, down yay far, 5 seconds.
Oh, squatting?
Yeah, squatting down. And why that works, I don't know. But the fact that they all recommend it, you sort of kind of get the results you think you're going to get. I sort of feel like I'm better on my feet now than I was before I started doing it. So if something like that could even get somehow put into
Michelle and I were just talking about it. We got shifted into some other things, some MIOSHA compliance and some other areas that took over, and we are determined to kind of implement some tips on this. It's a big subject right now, geriatrics. You know, maybe we should have the minutes reflect that we should get Dan a cat.
So you just let them outside?
Yeah.
They walk themselves?
It's surprising how many calls we get with people who not only trip with dog leashes, but we've actually had people going and fall through the ice going after a dog. So it's-
I love my dog, but not that much.
Yeah.
No, right.
So I think on Dan's note, that maybe that's something that should be brought
I'll
up
send
at
you-
the harbors too.
Yeah, I'll send you a link on it,
Please do.
because it really is, what surprised me is it's so simple, and, you know, it's not taxing, it doesn't, you know, wear you out or anything, it's just, you just gotta remember to do it.
There's also, go on.
Sharing it on our Facebook page and stuff,
Sure.
and putting together just a quick social media post for it would be pretty simple.
I've
Well,
got
we have-
some, I do the physical therapy because of all the trouble I was having. Physical therapist gave me a couple of more balanced ones. I can't tell you which ones were, but I do that before, I'm going to physical therapy, but they're behind for 3 weeks over there. So I'm doing some of those, but balance is my main thing. That's the main thing I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, as the older we get, we shuffle our feet more, and then
Well,
the
yeah,
wrong
all
footwear
the
is a
time.
thing, and then throw rugs are terrible. So these things
No, I
as
don't
simple as
have
that, I know one fire department, and we're trying to figure out how to do it. One fire department was installing grab bars in the bathrooms. Problem is, you've got to anchor them to
I
something
have to get one.
substantial, you know, and that's been the hang-up.
You install them?
We have not installed them because I don't want to be responsible for putting into something that's not there.
Okay.
So, but all good topics for discussion.
So before you go on, Greg,
Yes,
our fire department had what you might call a hell of a weekend. They were on the highway, there was 3 fires in one 24-hour period. They really, really had it put to them this weekend, and I think we all need to stop and say thanks to everybody that participated in this weekend. My heart goes out to all of you. I know you were in horrible weather, out on the highway, at fires. It was terrible. It just, everything fell at once. So thank you for your efforts
Yes,
and
thank you.
everything you did.
thank you, thank you. Very nice, thank you. Thank you. Moving on to that, I guess the other notable thing would be on page 18, Chris, if you could just go. I beg your pardon, but page 19, just to get the board up to date, you know. We're at like 40 special events, and the good thing is, if you go back to the statistics, let me just find it by page, I think you'll be pleased with this. On types of calls, page 12. Page 12 has severe weather. You guys might not have the stats, I beg your pardon. All right, so
Yeah.
community participation and citizens, you can see up here, those special events, community participation and citizen concerns, it's mostly community participation, is almost 17%. That's what we like to see, and that is mitigation. It's just not being reactionary. The fires, medicals, hazardous conditions, canceled calls, controlled burns, that's a good number to have big. So I wanted to point that out. That's included in these special events. Particularly, we've ramped up public education at our school, Douglas Elementary School. Okay, no questions, we'll move on. Next, we have Chris, Department of Fire Prevention Monthly Report.
I forgot to put the legal bill analysis is in there too, I just forgot to put it on the agenda, that's my fault.
Okay. So this just shows what the Fire Prevention Bureau staff are up to, and obviously, short-term rentals is a big one, construction plans. I think Chris told me last week or 10 days ago, short-term rental file is now over 800.
Correct.
When we started that program in 2010, my first season I did 72 rentals. Now there's over 800, and that's registered.
How often do you check them, or what's your?
3 years.
Every
3 years, or if they change owners.
They change owners, otherwise it's every
Yep.
3 years,
And
okay.
each city.
Okay.
That's not included like Airbnbs, right?
Not including B&Bs, correct.
Airbnb.
Oh, Airbnbs, yeah.
Most
You know where they rent out a room?
That would be included.
Yeah.
That it is included?
They're supposed to be, we've probably got, I would say roughly a dozen in each community that we've inspected. I would
Okay.
imagine there may be more that aren't registering, but even with that 800, there's probably another 100 or better per community that are doing it illegally. But
What do the
What do we-
800 include?
I'm sorry?
What exactly, what rentals do they include? House rentals, apartment rentals?
Anything that's like 30 days or less, you know, distinguish it from like a long-term rental where it's an annual lease. Sometimes there's a 6-month lease. The ordinance were drafted to be pretty much 30 days.
Okay.
Township has a little different variation.
Okay, so you don't do year-round rentals?
No.
in the township, that
Township,
number is
yes.
included in there because their ordinance was written differently.
Okay, but Sagadick and Douglas doesn't do year-round rentals?
Correct.
I mean, you don't check the year-round rentals from Sagadick and Douglas?
Is the fee still $250 for that, or, wasn't it at $250, or?
Yeah, it was raised.
I think each municipality raises it $350.
But that's every
for
3 years,
every
right?
year.
You're paying $250 every 3 years? Come on,
Yeah,
you
it
can't-
had just jumped to $350, but it had been
Okay,
$250. I think we started out doing it for nothing,
Yeah.
and then it got be
Oh, I'm
so
glad we're
large,
charging.
and then we went to
Yeah.
75, and then it's gone up over the
But
years.
still, for 3 years, $350, you can complain about that. I'm sure they do, but
Does the person call you, or does the township or the city call you and tell you about these?
It varies, you know, we get the application, but, you know, coordinating the rental inspection is always the cumbersome thing, because some rental companies say, I only want you to do it in spring. Well, we're busy then, or nobody's around during the wintertime, which slows down for us. Or they'll say, well, we want everything inspected by July 4th.
Do you do 1 or 2 people on these, and how long do they typically take?
They'll, sometimes when you have an agent, they might schedule 15 of them together.
Oh.
So I would say average between roughly 30 minutes per inspection, depending on the house and how many violations there are or not. I mean, most of the ones that are agent-oriented now know the rules well enough that they have it right the first time and they're not wasting time. It's more of the owner-operators that are coming up from Illinois or other places or the east side of the state that we tend to find a lot more violations in, because it seems as they just don't read the checklist.
And then you have to go back.
And then they go back and
Yeah.
then they pay for the reinspection
Oh,
for the
good.
municipality as well too.
Uh-huh.
And then we subsequently then bill the municipality for reinspect, but, yeah, typically only one of us does the rental inspection at a time, just because then we can divide and conquer and get more at once, so that it doesn't, you know.
well, if they give you the kind of the runaround, so to speak, can you find them?
The municipalities take care of that. If they're running an unregistered rental, then the municipalities chase them down and we'll find them if they're doing in fact that, yep.
They become the enforcement entity where we
Okay.
really say this is stop work order is if we
Right.
find somebody sleeping in a basement or in a room they can't get out, or there's no smoke alarms. But we seem to have educated people enough where it doesn't happen as often as it did when the program was started. We had people sleeping in closets. There'd be 30 people in a 3-bedroom house.
And if we come across an unregistered rental doing, even on emergency calls, we've occasionally come across them that way. We share the information the next day with the municipality and let them send them a violation letter, and usually they're registered within a week or 2 after that, so.
And we also have addressed, to the extent possible, an occupant load, where ain't no more than 12 people in this house type thing. It's evolved.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you for that. Then Michigan fire statistics, 108 deaths from 90 fires. You can see the current statistics that are up there. Everything follows in the typical matrix of males are the #1 casualty. Smoking is the #1 cause for fatal fires. So you kind of see this activity. Living rooms, it's no longer the bedrooms or the kitchen, it's living rooms. Okay, next up, I'm really proud to share with you Fire Prevention Month. We borrowed the smokehouse trailer from Howland Fire, it's part of a coalition, and we brought 352 students through that safety house, smokehouse, and taught them a number of lessons. And you can see an example of the lesson plan, which we drafted at the beginning of the year. Riley has also drafted one for us, and essentially there's a number of subjects there. And it involves Douglas Police, because they're in Douglas as well. So it just addresses some things like asking for help. When is it okay to call 911? Now we're working on escape plans. One of our missions has been, as long as I've been around, is teaching people, particularly young people, what their address is. Because that's the first thing 911 will ask. Where is your emergency? Not what it is, not what your name is, how old are you. Where is your emergency? And we found this parallels the need for short-term rentals. Hey, I think my husband's having a heart attack. Where are you? Oh, I'm in some two-story building in Douglas. That is not going to work. So we've addressed this, and we have got a very good program where we track everything. There's cards that the staff made for the teacher, cards that the police read the address. Hey, Billy Smith, what's your address? And we coach them with it if they don't know it. By the end of the school year, they're expected to know it.
Go ahead.
Are these a single, like where there are 4 numbered items under November? Is that all in one lesson plan that happens at one time?
Yes.
Typically, yeah.
So you're generally there once a month doing it? Twice.
But the address, we don't teach the firefighters your friends every class.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
The
typically,
address is.
Yeah, the bigger part of it is we review the address at every lesson to see how they're doing as we go throughout the year and teaching them their address, and then the rest of it is the major part of the lesson. So we typically have 25 minutes per class once a month. So we do half the school one day and the other half the school another day, just because it gets too much to try and squeeze them all in one day.
Lower L and upper L.
Yep.
And then the biggest thing we're trying to get people to do, and we've had this before COVID, was to draw a floor plan on an escape plan, because with fires now, you can't count on getting to the door. So we're teaching them they got to go to the window, and that's becoming more common now. We don't teach them to break the window or jump out. But Chris and the staff and I, we met with the kids to teach them, and Chris actually devised a lesson where we did a floor plan of the classroom. And each kid went up and drew, oh, here's a desk, here's a window, here's a door, here's a square, real simple line drawing. And we said, now carry this when you go home, figure this out with mom and dad. And one of the important elements was a meeting place. You know, all this is going to fall apart if we don't know if you're inside or outside. Because no one ever thinks they're going to have a fire. Well, where do you meet? In my house, it's the mailbox. Those are things we talk about within this. And then December, we'll recap with the address. We'll test them on the address. And then ice and cold water safety. That's how we kind of do this. Does that make sense?
When my kids were little, we had a code word also. Code word. It was a family code word that if someone was knocking on the door.
Yes.
We had that. The other thing I was gonna say about that is, with the address signs, are they incorporated in our rental stuff somehow? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I've rented places
The high school, 401 Elizabeth Street, 401 Elizabeth Street. There is a male subject in the middle of the roadway, mowing and groaning. Law enforcement is requesting fire to respond to this. When we hear to appear, we can hear you.
Sorry, here.
I guess one of, my example is my wife and I have rented places in Gulf Shores. and all of a sudden there's a tornado warning for this county, and I'm looking at my wife going, I don't really know what county I'm in.
Right.
So I gotta look for it and say, okay, that's 4 counties over, I'm not worried about it. But it's like, sometimes those little
Yeah.
things, like in a rental property, you know, do they know it's Allegan County? Do they know, you know, you're in the city of Saugatuck?
That's one of the big things that is required on, so the address has to be posted where it's visible from the road fronting the property. Is the first, one of the first things to check for. And then on the inside of the house, there has to be the emergency escape plans on every floor level that tells you the address you're actually at. So if you, even if you were someone that's having a heart attack, you should be able to walk into the hallway, call 911 and be like, I'm at 1234 Main Street, Saugatuck, Michigan.
Okay.
We've required that since
Yep.
2010.
Yeah.
You would think it would come up if someone's calling that they could find you on this.
Phones, they'd always triangulate. That's why you have to teach them. The phones, sometimes they're jumping the Milwaukee.
True.
And that they waste 25 minutes trying to find out where you're at.
Good stuff.
So the bi-monthly fire prevention lessons have resumed at Douglas Elementary with Douglas Police Department. It's a great relationship.
I think it's wonderful what you're doing. I think it's just great for the kids.
It's one of the best programs, it really is.
I think it's a fantastic program.
I'm a member of the Task Force for Allegan County Safe Schools Network, and there was a seminar at Allegan High School I attended, so did Assistant Chief Mike Betts, to try to go through these subject matters with subject matter experts, and it was a very fruitful experience, because Allegan County's got a pretty robust school safety program. So this is a new task force that is to solidify our efforts to reduce risks at schools. And this just shows that Allegan County Sheriff's Office, the Emergency Management Director, actually put this together for all those that attended. It was by invitation only. Next thing I have is the Michigan Statewide Communications Interoperability Plan. Was invited to that. It's just called a SKIP plan, and it is for the state of Michigan. Very fruitful event where we write goals and objectives that go to the governor for implementations of plans. So it's required to be done every 3 years, and I participated in that as well. Next that we have is saving the date for the Appreciation Awards Dinner, January 21st. So you want to make sure that's on your calendars.
Where is it?
It's going to be at Saugatuck Yacht Club on Park Street. Then we have firefighter, medical first responder Phil Dalton approached me to be a collection point once again for Toys for Tots, completely orchestrated by Phil Dalton. We've already got one box full of toys for the kids. That concludes my chief comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. I'm sure when you were downstairs, you saw 2192, or I mean, the new boat, 2194. Greg, do you want to comment on 2192?
So the old boat that we had to get back to the insurance company, it was transferred to the care and custody of Wolf Marine in Benton Harbor, where they're working on a sales agreement. We have nothing to do with it, other than our trailer is holding the boat, and they're going to try to sell the trailer with the boat. So that's where it is. It's out of service. 2192 and 2194 is the boat that's going to be in season, in service next season.
Okay, then also we have the resignation of Aaron Miller. I would like to thank him for 5 years of service on the fire board. He was very, very important on the fire board of appeals. He was the chair. He was a great member. He was very, very well prepared for our meetings. It's a shame that Aaron's not going to be with us any longer, but I want to thank him for his 5 years of service, and he was a great board member.
He was the other Douglas representative, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, resolution 2204, support of pre-alert policy of the 911 Policy and Procedure Board.
By way of background, in August, we shared with you a long-term goal of having pre-alert notifications on a medical call. It started with the police had access to that information and got notified before we did. It was a medical call we were to go to. We asked Central, the dispatch center, why we couldn't be included in that, and there were constraints with the system. So this took over 9 years to get to a point, and with the help of the county, we drafted a policy for pre-alert. It was voted on. The county wisely looks to the Chiefs Association for input on it. It was voted on in favor of continuing the policy until February with a reevaluation of the policy. There were 2 departments out of 20 that did not like it. The number one reason was they don't run priority 3 calls, the lowest priority. They don't have the staffing or the desire to commit to that. The way the program pre-alert policy was set up, they could only notify us for priority 1, 2s, and 3s. So those 2 departments got bothered for a priority 3 at 2 o'clock in the morning that they don't run to. They objected to that, even though the rest of the departments wanted to continue it. So the one department that objected to it wrote a resolution opposing it and sent it to the Board of Commissioners. I was contacted, and it's not the shared response of the majority of the county fire departments. 17 supported, with the condition we try to meet the needs and address the concerns to the extent possible of these 2 fire departments. This resolution was drafted to say, well, does our fire board support this? What does this mean? We get out the door quicker on a medical.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody calls up and said, I fell down, or Johnny fell down. A pre-alert comes in on our phone. We look at it, oh, we've got a medical. We stop what we're doing, we head out quicker. Essentially, that's what the pre-alert policy does. Otherwise, the alternative is we wait for the emergency medical dispatch process, all the questions. If they've called 911, there's a lot of questions. Well, that's not their fault, that's what the policy requires. That can take 1.5 minutes to 4 minutes. We wanted that early warning. So, with Eric's help, other staff's help, we are able to get out the door in about a minute, cut the time about 50%, essentially 50%. So essentially, a policy was drafted that says, hey, we think this is good. We do run priorities 1, 2s, and 3s. We don't want to penalize them that don't run 3s. We don't want to get penalized because we do run priority 3s. And you can see on that, the latest one is we decreased the call processing time by 55%. We happen to think that's significant in a service that where seconds and minutes count.
Do we need to do anything on this?
We need to vote to adopt this?
Do we have to vote on
If you
it?
want to vote on it, I would suggest a roll call vote.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-24.
Oh, for it.
Is that
04. It's 04.
04, I'm sorry.
I'll support.
Okay, this is a roll call vote to support resolution 202204, and it's the support of a pre-alert policy to the 911 Policy and Procedure Board, which meets tomorrow.
So is it okay to approve as presented and send to the Allegheny County 911 Policy and Procedure Board as soon as possible?
Is there any more discussion on this?
Just say endorse and approve.
Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
You got it. Fullen,
Yes,
Aldrich.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Oglesby.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to correspondence, we have thank yous for the Halloween parade, and thank
You know,
yous.
we got some really nice thank yous from the mayor, from Aaron Wilkinson. It was really a terrific, well-organized parade. So many people there, it was the best time. And it was echoed amongst the whole community. It was done very well. Completely a reverse flow of people. So you just see some thank yous that people took the time to express the thanks. The mayor, Aaron, and there's one other one, I believe, isn't there, Chris? Further down?
Well, see,
Oh,
there's
the manager.
There's like 2 or 3 in the same thread here.
Yeah.
It's the manager, Aaron Wilkinson, and,
Yep.
the mayor.
There's some nice suggestions in there too,
Yeah.
real good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Erin will look at each and every one of those and see what she can do about it next year. She's always making this parade bigger and better.
and next year's the 25th anniversary, so they're gonna be meeting at the park downtown, so it's gonna be a little bit different than this year. When people leave, some are gonna go to the park, some are gonna leave, so it's gonna be a different dynamics.
Oh.
Okay, moving on, public comment.
We got a nice
Oh,
thank
I'm
you
sorry.
for helping with Sagadick Township election from the clerk of Sagadick Township, a nice thought from Becky Israel, so.
What'd you do?
A
Did you have any
presence,
trouble during the
it
election?
was a presence, we provided some
I
Gravity.
wasn't sure.
participation in medical aspects. None were needed, but there is the thank you card.
Do we have any problems during the election?
0.
Good.
We did not. Because there weren't police available, so they kind of reached out.
Well, I think all three of these entities, because I've worked at all three of the different elections, and I think they're very well done. They know what, the clerks know what they're doing, they tell their workers what to do, the workers listen to them, and I think it's well organized.
Well, Becky insisted on drafting a safety plan and did a great job on it. I just offer a few tips on the safety plan, and it's the first time I've seen that extent of safety measures installed. And
That's a good idea, yeah.
She did it, and then staff drove through different times of the day. I think, I went there 5 times during the day. But they got to a point where they had enough staffing where they let us leave.
You didn't vote every time, did you?
Only in
Oh, this is only Chicago, only in Chicago you did it. Vote early and often.
I was supposed to
That's
work
Wayne
in
County.
Fenville, did
Jump off a big bag.
they send me all different, I'm sort of the one that, someone needs somebody, so I go, I've been a manualist for a while in Fenville, but I couldn't because of my leg. But I go around and work at different entities, and they're all very, very well organized.
Well, I'd have to say Becky was probably way standout.
Yeah, with the safety thing, we haven't
Took
done
it
that,
seriously.
we've talked about it.
All those
We've done this
people-
as talk. And
All those
kind of
people need a
hinted
thank
at it,
you,
we haven't really
too.
done it
Yeah.
in-depth
Oh, yeah,
thing.
that is awesome.
I'm gonna mention that to
Doesn't
Pam.
ever do with
Talk to
election
Pam.
somehow. He liked his training time to time.
It was great. Where the city's got the sheriff, Douglas has Douglas PD.
That's true.
The township kind of absent of
Yeah.
that presence, so,
Yeah.
how can we blend in needs of the township in case somebody fell?
Yeah.
It's a long time to stand in line for people.
Oh, it is.
And
So-
there's 5 times as many people here than the municipality,
Right.
other municipalities.
So
Yeah,
that
they're
was
almost
their-
going to
their
going
call.
To, voting places, townships close to it.
Well, very well done, Stace.
Thank you,
Eric?
I'll let him know.
Yeah,
Like to get
very
that.
well done. And we appreciated the card. So that's all I have, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to public comment, is there any public comment? Okay, fire board comment, Stacy?
I don't have anything.
Art?
Yes, we're gonna miss Aaron, he did a great job, especially on that board of review. Very professional, so I hope they replace him with someone that's
As professional.
as professional. I'm
Yeah,
sure
we
they
can
will.
talk to Pam.
And as
Well, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but
He was
But he-
very good.
very good. Thank you.
Just to second all of that, Aaron's gonna be missed. He's a good man.
True.
I'd just like to say, I really like the school program, I think that's fantastic. And I like the safety program that Becky's doing, I'm gonna mention that to Pam. So that might be good for our entity too.
She covered it all.
I'll talk to Pam and see who they have in mind of replacing Aaron.
Okay, could I call for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn
A second.
A second?
in memory of Jerry.
Yeah, really.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Becca
Thank you,
takes
Fire
over
Board.
for Becca.
Thank you.
All
Yep.
right.